What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise post-game show. Hope you're having a good night. The Blazers did not have a good night. They lose 124-92 to the Denver Nuggets. This was a score that you kind of felt coming. You know, it's tank season right now. The Blazers are in the toughest stretch left on their schedule, and they lose for the second game in a row coming out of the All-Star break. Nikola Jokic kind of controls this game from the get-go. The Blazers did not have the size to match up with him, and this was a game in which pretty much every player on the team struggled to score the ball, struggled to shoot the ball. The shooting numbers are atrocious. We'll look at them specifically in a little bit when we get to the team stats. But Eric, what's going on, man? Did you enjoy this basketball game?
Not at all, man. It was brutal to have to watch. Not going to lie on that one. And the only funny part is that Jokic failed to get a triple-double because of points, because he only took 5 shots.
Yeah. He was controlling this game with his passing, played some good defense. He's one of those guys, man, that can just control the game without scoring the ball. And stars like that are kind of rare. You know, you get guys like Luka who can play make, but Jokic just, I mean, it's a team playing without Jamal Murray, playing without Michael Porter Jr., and it doesn't matter. Jokic goes out there, 18 boards, controlled the glass, 11 assists in 26 minutes, with only 2 turnovers. So he made that ship run. Jeff Green, Aaron Gordon, 14 points. JaMychal Green, 20 off the bench. DeMarcus Cousins had a flashback night. Eric, 19 and 18 minutes. And then Bryn Forbes had 17 off the bench. So a lot of role players playing really well for them tonight in this one.
Yep, that's when you're playing against questionable NBA talent. It's pretty easy for veterans like that, and they took full advantage, and it's a good thing. You know, we need these losses, especially with that stretch we've always talked about coming up towards the end of the season, but it doesn't make it any easier to watch your stomach while you're watching.
Yeah, and it doesn't make it any easier to cover, because at this point, I mean, what do we even start off with this game, Eric? What do we even talk about with this game? Chris is going to be a little bit late on graphics, so it's not like we can hop into the team stats right away or anything. So we have some time to kill talking about this basketball game. And oh my goodness, it was just a gross basketball game. What's going on to everybody in chat? Thank you for tuning in on a night in which the Blazers just, it was a tankathon night. And it looks like they might get some luck. The Pelicans, we'll talk about their situation a little bit later on. They are currently playing the Lakers and blowing them out. The Lakers look like they are in absolute shambles. The Pelicans are currently beating them 84-59. Laker fans are booing LeBron. So on a night where, just the Blazers play ugly basketball and they're taking, at least maybe you can take some enjoyment in the Lakers looking like absolute garbage. That's really the only thing to enjoy tonight.
Yeah. Did we get any other, I'm trying to think, I'm forgetting now. Did we get any other good wins today?
The Knicks lost, so we are currently tied with the Knicks.
Pacers won.
The Pacers won. I don't know if they might be catchable. They got to start winning, and that's an impressive win. They beat the Celtics. They beat the Celtics. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll look at Tankathon a little bit later after this Pelicans game is final. We'll simulate it and all of that. But, I mean, do you have takeaways from this game?
Honestly, I don't think you're going to take away too much, other than getting to see some players like Keon Johnson we should probably talk about. So this might be a good time to talk about him, and then we can just kind of go through his player card later. But what did you think of his performance tonight?
I don't know. He's defensively, I see the upside, and I see the tools. He's athletic, he can move his feet, he battles, he competes on that end. Offensively, he has a long ways to go. And I have a hard time seeing him really helping the team in the next couple of years, just because offensively is a ways to go. I mean, he's 19 still, right? Mm-hmm. So he has a ton of time. And if we were in complete rebuild mode without a Damian Lillard, and it's like, oh, we're looking at 3 years down the line, I'd be like, okay, cool. I just don't really know what they envision with him going forward for the next 2 or 3 years. If he's like a guy that they are looking at for maybe after Dame retires or after Dame leaves, because what, you start your prime at 27. He still has 8 years until his prime, so he has a lot of time to develop. This isn't anything to do with him long term. In terms of the short term, he's rough offensively, and it's weird, dude, because his shot looks fine, his form looks fine. The knock on him coming out of college, and then the knock on him with the Clippers was the guy can't shoot. He gets I shouldn't harp too much on one play, but he gets a wide open corner three. Wide open corner three. All day to think about. Maybe too long to think about it. I don't know. And he Paul Georged it. He hit the side of the backboard. So defensively, he's promising. Had some good moments on that end. Offensively, I just think he's a really far way away from being a positive player on that end. And I don't know. It's hard to watch him and not question what the front office envisions for him going forward the next couple of years.
Yeah, it was first few possessions. He had a couple nice cuts. I think he scored both of his baskets in the first couple minutes. And I was somewhat encouraged because I was like, okay, this guy knows he can't shoot right now, so he's making some good cuts and attacking the glass or whatever. And that's what you want out of a guy that can't shoot. Yeah. But we talked about this all year with Dennis Smith Jr., and I'm going to put him in the same like category. Unfortunately, if you're a guard who can't shoot, it ruins your offense. And so that's going to be the struggle. Hopefully, like you said, his shooting form looks okay enough. Like he doesn't have like a huge hitch in it or anything. So like maybe he can consistently.
Question with that. Does that make you worry less or worry more?
Well, I don't know. It could just be like a confidence thing.
But he struggled in Tennessee too, so
yeah.
And he played with some confidence in college. He played with some swagger.
I don't know. It's just tough because I mean I don't know enough about him to know like work ethic wise and stuff, so I can't really comment on that. But I mean, in theory, if you were having the Kobe mindset of I'm going to shoot 1,000 jumpers a day or make 1,000 3-pointers every day and not stop until I become a good shooter, like in theory, anyone with a decent form on a jump shot and confidence should be able to at least get to a respectable way of shooting. So I just wonder with certain people if that's just not going to happen. But like you said, he's still young, so it's not like there's any determination on that yet. But yeah, we've just seen with Dennis Smith how brutal it is. And he's not even the ball handler he can't run the offense like Dennis Smith Jr. either. So it's a point where he's such a liability. So even if he is like a super dependable or like even the best defender on our team on the perimeter, it's tough to know where his role is moving forward. So hopefully he can figure out some sort of way to get his jump shot right or some sort of way to cut, like I was saying, and not have to rely on shooting jumpers or like players leaving him on the perimeter. But until he does one of those two things, it's going to be really tough to watch him in this offense, especially when teams are focusing so much on Anthony and players like Keon are going to be left wide open, and you've got to take advantage of that. So, like, I mean, obviously it doesn't matter this year, but if he wants any sort of role moving forward, he's going to have to learn those things.
Yep, agreed. AJ Poseidon says, but before we trade Keon, I'd want to get his value up. I don't think his value is going to go up because he's just so raw offensively, and I think it's going to scare some teams off. Like, I don't think he's a first-round value at this point, and we've had this conversation multiple times, but people keep pitching him out there as if this is the equivalent of a first-round pick. He's not. We didn't get anything equivalent of a first-round pick back in the Norman Powell and Robert Covington trade. I'm trying to move on from that trade, but I'm still frustrated as hell with that trade because this is the main piece we got back, Eric. This is the main piece. Sure, Justice Winslow might be in the rotation next year, but we could have found a different Justice Winslow. He's like a guy who's almost out of the league. If he didn't get traded, he would have been probably gettable next year, just with us absorbing his salary via trade. So Keon Johnson's the piece, man, and it's just tough because it's like I go into games like, okay, maybe this is only his second game, but I went into this game thinking, okay, maybe he'll show something tonight offensively, like, and that's how I'm going to go into future games. Like, okay, maybe this is when he shows his offensive potential, and he's quick, but ball handling, like at the start of this game, he just lost the ball into a crowd for seemingly no reason in transition. Basically just coughed it up to Jokic, and it wasn't even that he was pressured. He just got stuck dribbling into an area it shouldn't been, and then he lost his handle. And then the shooting on top of that.
In his defense, I mean, I think every person on this team lost the ball to the other team at one point.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, dude, like, I could criticize every player that played in a Blazer uniform tonight. Trust me. He has to figure out how to shoot, and I'm almost more worried about his shot because there's nothing inherently wrong with it. If you have a hitch, like Nasir Little had a hitch his rookie season. If you have a hitch, it's easily fixable. You eliminate the hitch, and you should be able to shoot better. Your shot's going to be more replicable. When it's somebody who doesn't have a hitch, and he missed that corner three bad, and he's missed some shots bad in college and a little bit of the time that he played with the Clippers. I don't understand why he's missing so bad, and I can't tell by watching his form what's wrong with his shot. So it makes me worry that maybe he just doesn't have a feel for shooting the ball. He just doesn't have that natural feel for whatever reason. He just maybe doesn't have the touch. And if that's the case, I don't really know what he can do. He can shoot a bunch of shots, but there just always seems to be guys that just don't have a good feel for shooting the ball and are never good NBA three-point shooters. You get him out there in a rec league, and that dude's the best shooter on the court easily. You know what I mean? You get him shooting around in open gym, and that dude's knocking down a bunch of shots. It's just, to be a good shooter at the NBA level, you have to be, like, phenomenal at shooting the ball compared to just even a college basketball player, right? These are the best players in the world, the best shooters in the world, and I don't know. He's going to have to be able to shoot the ball. It would be okay if he was like 6'8" with a 7-foot wingspan who could guard 4 or 5 positions. In that case, then maybe it's fine if he doesn't develop a three-point shot, because at least he can guard whoever the best player is. He can guard a LeBron, or he can guard a Devin Booker or Chris Paul, or, you know what I mean? Like Al-Farouq Aminu, Mo Harkless were those types of guys. The problem is he's 6'3" with an 8'1" wingspan, so I don't think he can guard threes. I think he can at most guard only guards. So, I mean, hopefully he figures it out and figures out his jump shot, because if he can shoot and guys run him off the line, his quickness and athleticism should be able to do good things for him attacking closeouts. It's just everything for a 6'3" guy without much length in the NBA. Even if you're a great defender, even if you have good intangibles, it's like everything starts and ends with, can you shoot the ball in today's day and age? Mm-hmm. So he's got to figure that out.
Yeah, well, maybe confidence isn't the right word, but it can snowball. Like, you're a decent shooter in practice, like you put in the work, but then you like miss 3 in a row or something, and then the next one you shoot, it's like, okay, got to make this one, And then by the time you're 20 games into your college season and you're shooting like 20% from 3 or whatever, it starts to get in your head, and then you think about that every time you shoot the ball. So it could definitely spiral out of control like that. So hopefully he can figure that out. I mean, I don't know. It's just, like I said, I don't want to like say he can't or anything, because he definitely could. And like you said, it might be worrisome that he doesn't have a flaw in his shot, but I don't know. To me, as long as I just want to give Chauncey some time to like see if he can unlock something there, because he seemed to be good at enabling players to feel empowered on the court. And so you got to just hope that rubs off on him. But
I just
if
don't think
if it doesn't, though, it's not.
Yeah,
you can't. I don't know.
It would be something if he came in like timid but could shoot and just needed confidence. It's just like, I don't know that enabling him can help him shoot better. Maybe it can. And maybe it's just a situation where he needs game reps. It's not like he was a good shooter in college and then struggling in the NBA. If that was the case, then be like, okay, I have confidence in increased reps, increased experience, him shooting the ball better. But he's what? Do you remember his percentage in college? I think it was 27%.
Oh, good out.
27%. And that's the thing. There's nothing wrong with his form. Gabe says Mikal Bridges had a hitch. The thing is, Mikal Bridges was a solid shooter, though. So he was a solid shooter with a hitch. So you eliminate that hitch, he's a 40%er. Whereas Keon Johnson can't shoot, and his form's fine. So it's like the Victor Claver conundrum, Eric.
27% in college,
Yeah, look at that memory. Let's go. Because Victor Claver had like a textbook-looking jumper and just couldn't knock down shots. Yeah, shout out to those of you who remember good old Victor Claver. But yeah, we can talk a little bit more about Keon if you want when we get to his player card. Let's hop into the team stats, Eric, because it's ugly.
Got it.
Yeah. Chris already back from the game. Look at that 3-point percentage. 17%, 6 for 36. From the field, 37%. And then 69% from the free throw line in honor of Connor. And then you got Denver, 51% from the field, 32% from 3, 77% from the free throw line. So just right there, you're not going to be competitive if you're shooting those numbers.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Offensive rebounds, that's the thing. We missed a lot of shots, but it's not like we really out-rebounded them on the offensive glass. We had 11, they had 8. Assists, I mean, it wasn't a situation where we were going iso ball. It's just don't have shot makers out there. That's going to happen. 22 assists on 34 shots is a solid ratio, but 34 shots is the problem there. 34 shots made. What else jumps out on here to you? Is anything else?
Got killed on the boards. It's basically the shooting. Points in the paint was pretty close, so that wasn't really bad. 26 fast break points against a team like Denver. That's terrible to give up that many, so I don't like to see that, especially with a young guys who should be at least getting back on defense more often. So that's not good. Just had no shot makers tonight.
Yep. So those are your team stats. It's funny because after the 4-game winning streak, Eric, it was like, oh, this team looks good. I heard some people say, when Dame comes back, he's gonna mess this up. You remember the people saying that? Because we won 4 games and 2 of them were over. Like one of them was over Orlando, and I forget one of them was over Washington.
Lost Orlando.
Oh no, we beat. Oh, I was. What were our 4 wins? Because I know one was Brooklyn. Dude, my memory's failing me. Let me look at our schedule here.
It was not Brooklyn. It was.
No, we beat Brooklyn in that 4-game winning streak. We didn't beat Brooklyn. No. What am I? Am I like?
Dude, we beat Milwaukee in Milwaukee without Giannis. We beat.
Yes.
The Knicks.
We beat the Knicks. We beat the Lakers. Okay, that's why I was thinking Orlando because we beat the Lakers.
We beat Memphis. That was a good one.
Okay, yeah. The Knicks, the comeback. Okay, that's coming back to me. I just rewound a month too far in my memory bank there. Because we did beat the Nets, but it was a while ago.
That was at the beginning of Anthony's.
Yeah. You're right. But so we win these 4 games, and all of a sudden it's, oh, look, Cronin, you need to apologize to Cronin. Look how good this team looks. And it's like Cronin wasn't even trying to make the team good. Okay, number 1. Number 2, that I think part of this proves how good Yusuf Nurkic is and how he helps the team be competitive. I don't think it's a complete coincidence that Nurkic ends up missing time and we go from being competitive to getting blown out. But, I said during the time, people were overreacting way too much to 4 games. Way too much to 4 games. When we shot the ball when Josh Hart was shooting above 50% from 3. Josh Hart was 0 from 3 for the second night in a row tonight. Go ahead.
Well, I think you're missing the effect that we tried to tell people all year that Nurkic is actually good.
I just said that.
Yeah.
he helps the team win because we need another scoring option. So that's the thing is we were able to defend and we had guys shooting insanely hot during that 4-game winning streak, but asking people what's going to happen when Josh Hart stops shooting 50% from three and we stop shooting the ball well. Okay, because we're playing solid defense, but it's when you're shooting the ball well, it's easier to play better defense. You know what I mean? It's easier to, I don't know, like have a good attitude on the defensive end when you're making shots. When you're missing everything and they're coming down and they're running their offense well, it's harder to fully invest energy on the defensive end. It's a psychological thing, okay? But you look at the defensive numbers with Nurkic and then without Nurkic, right? We gave up 105 to the Lakers, 130 to the Knicks, 107 to the Bucks, and then 119 to the Grizzlies. We lose Nurkic, and granted, we play two good teams where we give up 132 and 124. Okay, so that's part of it. And then the other thing that I said was we don't have enough shot making on this team. This team is not talented enough. So the whole notion that Dame coming back is going to screw things up was kind of ridiculous to me because it's only 4 games. We only had a 4-game winning streak. Way too small of a sample size to come to conclusions. And in the end, we need to upgrade our talent this offseason. We're still not going to be a talented enough team with Dame and Nurkic, adding them to what we have now. Adding Nas to what we have now. We still don't have enough offensive talent, and I don't know if we have enough defensive talent. So I thought the conclusions after that 4-game winning streak were way too premature, and I think these past 2 games have shown that.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, I guess. I mean, it's good for the tank, but it's unfortunate to not see if it was, or how much of a fluke it was, or how much of it was teams coasting to the All-Star break and then now are geared up for this last little stretch of games. So, yeah, I think... Nothing.
What?
Oh, gotta love peace and love.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry, I couldn't stop laughing
This
after
dude's
reading.
comical. Yeah, Stotts, yeah. Stotts would have this team playing like contenders, peace and love. You got it, man.
I mean, someone forgets that this team was crap for much of the last few years, like the last 2 years under Stotts, and the years before that they were bad and just happened to go on late season runs. But I mean,
Bruh. Well, no. What's the narrative? What's the narrative when Stotts has guys injured? It's he can't do anything with guys hurt. All right? Where's that same energy?
Not this crappy. He doesn't have Damian Lillard.
Where's that?
He missed like 5 games, the most he's ever missed in a season. And now you're talking about him being injured and not playing for most of the season, and that is somewhat comparable. It's just so stupid.
There's no
man.
consistency.
Get out of here with that garbage.
Yeah, see, I mean, like, that's the type of people we can't stand, and then people will be like, how dare you attack your viewers? It's like, dude, don't bring that crap in here. You gotta be consistent for anybody to take you seriously. Stotts had Dame through all those injuries. Stotts had Dame consistently. And then when he didn't have Dame, he would have CJ. Okay? Here's the thing. Is Stotts enabled a crappy style of play? All right? This is the season. This is the difference. And this is why this season's isn't a bad thing, and the coaching change was the right move, okay? Stotts enabled a crappy style of play that was never going to be successful in the postseason. The most we could hope for was to play an OKC team led by Russell Westbrook, one of the dumbest playoff performers ever. Dude just made dumb plays in the playoffs left and right, and Dame carried the team on his back offensively and had a phenomenal series. And then we played a inexperienced Denver Nuggets team in the second round, and that went 7. Okay? That was the only way we were going to make any sort of run to the Western Conference Finals. We get to the conference finals, what happens? We get swept by a team that was banged up, a Warriors team that was missing KD. Okay? Stotts' style of play was never going to be conducive for success in the playoffs. And we said that numerous times, okay? But since he didn't really hold guys accountable on either end of the floor, guys could go out there and win some regular season games. They weren't being forced to do the tough things that you need to do to win playoff games. They weren't being forced to play the right style of basketball. He enabled a poor style of basketball that was successful in the regular season because he had players that bailed him out with that bad style of basketball, with Damian Lillard, with CJ McCollum, with Norman Powell down the stretch, okay? But we see it in the playoffs. We play against a Denver Nuggets lineup that was less talented than us, and we lose in 6 games, okay? So we fire him, we hire Chauncey Billups. Chauncey comes in and tries to get these guys playing the right style of basketball. Okay, playing multiple defensive schemes, holding those players accountable on the defensive end, moving the ball offensively, and you had some guys that obviously didn't want to buy in. Okay, now if you enable players that aren't really, super interested in playing the right way, like a Norman Powell or Robert Covington, if you enable that bad behavior, they're probably going to play better than if you try and hold them accountable for something that they don't want to do. Okay? And then you compound that with Damian Lillard being injured on top of that, it's not going to be a situation where those guys are going to play better. Instead, they're going to play worse because Stotts' defensive scheme, he ran draw scheme. It was, okay, Nurkic, you take away the layup. Dame, you go over the screen. If they shoot a mid-range jumper, oh well. Chauncey came in and tried getting them to play a better defensive scheme that required everybody on the court being on a string, being in the right positions, and one guy making a mistake broke down the scheme. But if everybody bought into running it right, it would be a much better defensive outcome, especially in the playoffs. Okay? But the problem is, guys like Robert Covington wanted to chase steals and weren't really interested in playing good positional defense. He was out of position all year long. Same with Norman Powell. And therefore, the defense didn't improve. Okay? It wasn't due to Chauncey. It wasn't due to Stotts being some genius. Every time you come in here, peace and love, it's never a situation where you're actually discussing basketball. It's mostly just surface level cliches. I can try and explain it to you, but I know you're probably not even listening. So, and I can tell by your comments. So this is for everybody else, just an educational thing. That's basically how the season has gone. It's nothing to do with Chauncey being a bad coach or Stotts being a good coach. Okay, that's just the truth. If you just want to look at the record and ignore all context because you're so in love with Terry Stotts that you would rather just be blind to what's actually happening out there, that's completely fine. That's your prerogative. But not even acknowledging the fact that Dame was injured all year long, playing like crap because of it, and then missing the rest of the season after about the new year, and you don't want to even acknowledge that, shows your bias in this conversation. So I don't want to have any more conversations with you about this because it's just ridiculous. You don't listen when I try and explain it to you. And then when it gets frustrating for us having this conversation again where you're not even listening and you're not even maybe even understanding what we say, then when we get frustrated, it looks bad for us because, it's a viewer. How are you going to be rude to a viewer? How are you going to... When we try and explain it like this every single freaking time and have done so for a year and a half. Okay? So that's my rant. There's other channels that will say Stotts is a basketball genius. You should probably go watch them instead. You'll probably enjoy it more. All right? Rant over. Eric.
Why the heck are we comparing a team's coaching that is purposely trying to lose games? How many of our top 9, 10 rotation players from the beginning of the year are currently playing? Anthony Simons? Is that it? One? One out of our top 10 rotation guys at the beginning of the year? Is that right? Can you think of a second guy? Trendon wasn't in the rotation at the beginning of the year. Greg wasn't. CJ Elleby wasn't. Most of the rest of the guys were on the team. We traded away 8 guys.
Yeah.
So between injuries and trading away guys, we have one guy, that was our top 10 players on our team, right? 10 players. Mm-hmm. And you're sitting here trying to say, oh, Stotts would have had this team in the playoffs. He's a miracle worker. Oh, man, Billups sucks, man. He can't even get these guys to the playoffs. What an idiot. Like, what a terrible hire, man. I mean, honestly, the only thing I can think of is that it's a racist thing, man. And I'm sick of it. I mean, there's nothing other. I mean, there's
I
no
don't think that's the
other
case.
logical way of giving someone a chance and not giving someone a chance. So, like I see that a lot on Twitter, and I get sick of it, man.
I don't think it's racism at all. I don't think that's what it is. I think it's people liked Stotts for whatever reasons, and they won't
Yeah,
let go of
because he's
that.
white.
No, I no, no, I no, I don't want to say that. I
This
don't
guy isn't
believe
giving
that.
Billups a chance to coach when he doesn't even have any players. He's saying, like, it's stupid. Like, what else could it be?
I don't. Yeah, but that's the thing. Eric is like anybody that really thought Stotts was a good coach was going to be biased against the new hire, no matter
Right.
who it was.
That's
You
true.
know, like we even talked about like they weren't going to give the new coach a chance. Like it was a situation where they want to be right about Terry Stotts, and they're going to pick and choose what context they want to believe and what context they want to ignore to try and be right in whatever sort of argument they're having. So I don't think it's anything to do with race. I don't want people to, think that's what I'm arguing, at least. I can't speak
Yeah.
for you, but I just think it was a situation where whoever the new hire was, it was going to be a situation where people like peace and love. He was not going to give him a chance.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
yeah. But
If we're winning right now, I would love Billups. Okay, we're not. We're not trying to win.
Here's the thing. Like, I don't want to have this conversation for too long. If Terry Stotts was still coaching, he'd be saying, "What do you expect him to do when Dame was injured and Dame's out?" But he's
Right.
not,
Yeah.
and that just shows how he's biased in this conversation. So there's no point in even having it at this point, because it's not a I'm forgetting the word, but it's not like a true conversation. You're just talking to somebody's bias, and it's not actually a genuine discussion.
That's true, XC Debt. If we had Stotts, we'd definitely be in the running for Jabari or Chet, so that would be better, I guess.
Yeah. So, anyway, let me thank a dono. Thank you to my guy play-by-play, $50 dono. That's huge, man. Appreciate your support. He says, haven't donated in a while. Just wanted to thank y'all for the consistent quality content, even though the dark times that the season has brought y'all the goats. Now, y'all going over or under for 5 wins the rest of the year. I'm going over because we have an easy schedule, but maybe it's not as easy as we thought if we're going to play this badly. Thank you,
Right.
play-by-play, for the dono.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the thing is like, Billups isn't the issue. You see it's funny because I just talked about people were overreacting to the 4-game sample size, but he had those guys playing a good brand of basketball that had them competitive. You know what I mean? And I made this point at the time. They just, even if they keep playing a good brand of basketball, they didn't have the talent to sustain the success that they were having, because it was like Josh Hart shooting the hell out of the ball, and Anthony was shooting the hell out of the ball. So it wasn't something that was sustainable, but it was like they were at such a talent deficit that they had to shoot well, and they had to like play above their heads, and they also had to play the right way. And Chauncey had those guys playing the right way. We have not gotten an accurate gauge for Chauncey at all, because he hasn't had a talented team that has bought into what he's trying to do. And he's it's also a situation, and we said this before the season, it was going to take some time for him to figure things out as a rookie head coach. Okay? And it's like when you're a rookie head coach and you have a situation where your best player's hurt and not playing well at all, and then you have other guys not buying in, what do people expect? Terry Stotts would not have made that a contending team or a winning team, right? There's absolutely no shot. The only reason it would have been better is because he wouldn't have tried to hold the team's bad habits accountable, so maybe guys play a little bit harder, because lack of energy and coasting was a huge issue this year, and it was, I fully believe, because these players didn't like how Chauncey was holding them accountable. Norman Powell, Robert Covington, guys like that. Okay, now you bring in young guys who are hungry, and They're playing the right way, and they're playing great. The past 2 games isn't evidence of this, but during that 4-game stretch, they were playing as a greater than the sum of their parts, in part because they were playing the right way. At the start of the season, the team was more talented than they were playing, and you had games where they would play the right way and they'd look phenomenal. I mean, they beat a healthy Phoenix Suns team by 30 early in the year. They beat the Memphis Grizzlies, a healthy Memphis team, by 20 early in the year. When they played the right way and it was mostly at home, they looked great, and they were 10-1 at home. So when it was, comfortable, crowd behind them, giving them energy, they looked really, really good. But then they'd go on the road and they couldn't win a road game because they'd come out insanely flat and sleepy and lazy and just mentally checked out. And that 10-1 start at home was with Dame not playing well and being hurt. Okay, so if I fully believe if the roster at the start of this year bought into playing the right way and came out with consistent energy at home and on the road, it would have been a team that would have been in the top 4 or 5 in the Western Conference. I fully believe that, and I still believe that. But you had players on this team that mentally didn't have the right approach going into this season. And blaming Chauncey for that because he tried to hold the bad habits of some of these players accountable is extremely silly to me. Because if those players were never going to try and improve or remove some of their bad habits, it wasn't a situation where this team was ever going to win a championship. Okay? They weren't going to win a championship with their bad habits being enabled by Terry Stotts. They weren't going to win a championship by playing a lazy defensive scheme, and then when they were tasked to run something more complex, just not even being in the right spot, not hustling on their closeouts, jumping at every pump fake, doing all these stupid little defensive things. They were never going to win a championship like that. They were never going to go on a run. So this is better, actually, because we figured out who wasn't bought into playing the right way. We got rid of them, and now we have a chance to add some serious talent to this team because we could have 2 top 10 picks. And I don't see why people hate on Chauncey for that, because it's A, not his fault, and B, it helped us learn who we need on this team and who we don't.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Chris Brandler for the $5 donation. Most fans are myopic. They don't see the big picture and just buy into whatever narratives are being pushed on them. Blazers Uprise is the truth.
Yep.
Thanks, Brandon.
Yep.
Chris Brandlin.
Appreciate you, Chris, for the $5 dono. Yeah. So, you know what, Eric? Boom. All right. End of conversation. Anyway. All right. Let me see if the player cards are ready. They're almost ready. We'll hop into player cards. We'll talk about the players.
Bye-bye. God, so dumb.
Yeah.
The Blazers aren't trying to win. Well, why isn't Billups winning then? Well, they're not trying to win. But why isn't he winning? Stotts would be winning. He's not trying. The organization is making it impossible for him to win. But Stotts this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, dude, he got fired almost, what? It's been 8 months since he's been fired. Almost 9 months since he's been fired, Eric. I feel like some people are never going to move on. I feel like 5 years from now, it's going to be a situation where it's like, oh, if only we kept Stotts. I mean, we were giving up Stotts is why Dame never won a ring in Portland. Although, mostly the Stotts love goes in hand with their Olshey hate. So then it's like the combination of the two. Which Olshey, I don't think, did a good job. I don't think he necessarily did a bad job. I don't think he could have foreseen Norman Powell not fully buying in, but I mean, he definitely missed on some things. He's just kind of GM to me, and then with all the stuff in the front office, like, you can't stand for that. That's why I want him fired. But let's just move on. Like, why can't people move on? I don't understand being blinded by your love for a coach that's been gone for almost a year now and therefore not giving the new coach a chance. It just doesn't make sense to me. It's like, I don't understand why people would want to be a fan then. Because you're not even willing to give your coach a chance. You're so caught up in the past that you can't even, logically handle the present. So I don't understand that. But it was nice to have a little nostalgic flashback. We need something to talk about today, Eric, and we got it.
Yeah, that's true.
We got it. Anyway, so after the player cards, I don't even know where to go with this. The player cards are almost ready.
Okay. Yeah, Greg Thomas during it's more. Olshay was too safe. He was too.
Yeah.
He was comfortable. The team was comfortable. You didn't want to mess it up, and they were fine. They were okay.
Yeah. Blazers Edge article. Do you want us to talk about that, Emerson? You want us to rant about more? I don't know if we should double dip with that too. But yeah. Okay, so question later. I want to have a conversation just about, or I want to know what you guys want to talk about later. All right? I'm going to do a chat poll. What do you want us to talk about later? All right? We can do college basketball / the draft. All right? You're going to hear typing. Just embrace it. College basketball, like draft talk. We can talk about Blazers offseason moves, like outside of the draft, maybe some trade stuff, whatever, free agency, that type of stuff. We can talk about the NBA in general, other teams, whatever. Do you have a fourth option for kind of a more non-Blazer related? Or, I mean, like the Blazers offseason, the draft would be Blazer related, but do you have any other chat? If you have any other things you want to talk about that you want me to toss into the poll, let me know.
Terry Stotts.
I do not want to talk about Terry Stotts. I veto that suggestion.
Chris says they're done.
Yeah. I just want to get this poll going, and then we'll hop into them. There's nothing else in general that you guys want to talk about. We'll just start. Well, I'll just do a poll with these three.
Pelicans are up 25 on the Lakers with 2 minutes left.
Yeah, so that'll be good for Tankathon. We'll do Tankathon later. This here little update. He's out for the season. I don't know anything else more than that. Blazers ownership wish list. I don't know, man. Yeah, these. I thought I had a fourth thing, but I forget. Draft picks if the Blazers tank versus New Orleans coming up in the ranks. That would be as a part of the college basketball talk. So I'll just do these three things. You guys can vote. We'll talk about whatever you guys pick after the player cards. And let me get those loaded up there.
Well, I guess the fourth one should have been that article.
I guess, but we talked on. Follow us on Twitter, all right? That's all I'm gonna say. Twitter links are in the description. We tweeted our thoughts about it. I tweeted my thoughts. You tweeted your thoughts. Like, it's pretty much out there if you guys want our thoughts on that Blazers Edge article. And nothing personal to anyone there. I've had an issue with some of the stuff they put out there in the past, so I don't really read them for that reason. It's not a personal thing. It's just about the content. Not really for me. And I feel like, well, okay, we could talk about the trade Dame stuff in case anybody hasn't heard us talk about this. Eric, it's the trade Dame stuff feels morally wrong to me. Does it feel that way to you?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll let you explain while I get these player cards up there.
Well, I mean, people are going to push back like, oh, it's a business after we say this. But in my opinion, you don't spend years begging someone to stay. Have him be the type of character person that says, you know what? I've decided I'm going to ride from you. I'm going to look at this as a marriage and be like, I'm going to stick with it. No matter what happens, I'll be here. I want to win for Portland. I want to be here. You have a star saying that they want to be here and win in Portland, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's like saying you want your wife or husband or significant other to be that way. And then all of a sudden, like, you meet some other person and you're like, oh, you know what? I know you were loyal to me and you could have had other opportunities, but yeah, I'm gone. See ya. Like, it's just, that's not how it works. If you're a good person, if you're a good business, you don't treat your employees that way. You don't treat your family that way. And Dame's family, and I mean, I don't care if he makes $50 million or $10. It's he's earned the right, in my opinion, to go down as a lifelong Blazer. And if we don't win a title or we sacrifice a little bit of winning a championship because we made that decision, I can live with that. And now I'm just sick of people saying if you choose to believe that, you're choosing loyalty over winning a championship. Who the heck knows that answer? Like, no, you're not. Like, it's so dumb. Like, who could we trade Dame for? What package could we trade him for that puts us in more contention? Oh, what if we get a bunch of first-round picks? Idiots, we have 2 first-round picks. Like, we have 2 lottery picks. Like, we have that end Dame, right? We could do both.
And
right,
we have
Fisher?
Ant. Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, put Jaylen Brown with Ant or something and get 2 draft picks. Like, that doesn't get us any closer to contention than having Dame.
We're far less.
It's so dumb.
Like, here's the thing with that: we're not likely to get a top 12 player by doing that. Jaylen Brown, I don't think ever is going to be a top 12 player, and in terms of the draft, it's not likely that we're going to get a top 12 player with picks that we trade Dame for. Somebody was talking about, like, the last 10 first overall picks in the draft. You can draft anybody. Out of the last 10, only one has become a top 12 player, and that was Anthony Davis. Outside of that, like, Karl-Anthony Towns was like, a surefire number 1 pick. He hasn't become a top 12 player. He's never been as good as Dame is. Okay? You just go down the line with number 1 overall picks. I mean, DeAndre Ayton, I highly doubt is ever going to be a top 12 player. You go down the line with first overall picks, only one out of the past 10 has become a top 12 player, and that's Anthony Davis, who's honestly, like, his peak, was it really any higher than Dame's? Like, he's never led a team anywhere. What has he done other than gotten the privilege to play next to LeBron and win a championship next to LeBron as the number 2 guy? So it's like we're probably not going to end up with a player as good as Dame by trading Dame, and then even if we did, what's the likelihood that they even want to stay? Okay, especially where, maybe they thought like, I'm going to be loyal to this team. Oh, wait, Damian Lillard was extremely loyal to this team, and the first time he was injured, they just shipped him out of town. Why should I be loyal to this organization? How can you expect players to be loyal into the future when the most loyal superstar you've ever had, you shipped them off the first time he was hurt? So it doesn't even make business sense, okay? And then it's the whole, like, how can you expect him to be loyal to you and then you're not willing to provide that same loyalty back and you just start viewing him as an asset to go out and get other assets and it's not deeper than that? Like, that's morally wrong to me. So I can disagree with other opinions, on basketball stuff. I don't really have a problem with that. But when it comes to, like, the dude running Blazers Edge publishing an article that's just like, it's time to trade Dame because he might get hurt again. And, just like Charles Barkley's right, like referencing Charles Barkley, that rubs me the wrong way. Okay, and that's why
it's a national narrative. They had to say that.
Yeah, and you got them going on Twitter saying, we talk about what's talked about. Okay, so you got a guy who, like, barely watches basketball. Charles Barkley barely watches NBA basketball. You can tell by how he talks about some other players. He doesn't know who's playing where. That's why they have a whole segment that's who he play for, where Charles Barkley doesn't know where players are playing, right? How many Portland games do we think he's watched this year? Okay, but then, he says Dame should be traded, just like all the other mainstream media morons that try and push that narrative that, we used to clown, but now all of a sudden we're agreeing with them, Eric? Or we're talking about what they're saying like they're speaking gospel, like what they say matters, what Charles Barkley says matters. I don't get it.
Well, just the way it was phrased, too, in the tweet. Sometimes the most heart-wrenching options are also the correct ones.
Yeah, if it was why I think the Blazers should trade Dame, it would have been, which isn't as catchy or whatever. But like if it was portrayed in that way,
Yeah.
it wouldn't have been. That still would have rubbed me the wrong way, but it wouldn't have been as bad. When you portray it like trading Dame's just the correct decision, like it's a fact.
Well, also, just, I mean, these people aren't dumb, right? They know they're going to get pushback because there is more of a portion of the fan base that are against that opinion of trading him versus wanting to trade him, right? So it's a very few minority, I think, that want Dame traded or think it's better off that we trade him. So to not expect pushback, first of all, and then to not just be like, I said what I said, that I would respect someone who said that, right? But just be like, whoa, why is everyone being so mean to me? Like that kind of attitude, like,
yeah, and I didn't even see him saying things about it. It was like other people that worked at Blazers Edge. It's just like, yeah, I've gotten a ton of pushback, and it's like, if it's pushback where you're being insulted personally, I understand being like, what the hell, that's not cool, okay? But if it's just criticism of the content or the tweet, then like, dude, I haven't talked to Danny Meringue, in a long time for a good reason. We don't like each other. One of the things he said way back in the day was criticize the content, not the people. I'm like, okay. When it comes to Blazers Edge, I'm not criticizing the people. I'm criticizing the content. And it's almost like, I feel, I'm not going to name names, but it's like, I feel like a couple people that work there, if I say, this is why I don't like Blazers Edge, it's because of this content and that content, they almost take it personally. And it's like, I have nothing against, I have nothing personal against DSU. I have nothing personal against Dave Deckard, who wrote the piece. You know what I mean? It's not a personal thing. We're talking about content. I'm criticizing the content, which is what one of their writers, told me that I should do. I shouldn't criticize people. I should criticize content. But then when I criticize the content, it's like people take it personally. I will criticize content, and if people want to criticize my content and it not be a personal thing and they have like a serious gripe with it, then I mean, it's fair. I might not like it, but it's fair. And I can respect that.
Yeah. When people say it's a business decision, because I got a lot of that in my replies too, and it's like, I just don't get how, because people see that $50 million, right? And they're like, oh, it's just way too much money. You can't build a team around Dame. So I don't think people realize this. So some of you might not either. It's a case where if he signs the extension this summer, it seems like a ton of money, but it's actually a lot less than if he waited until that summer and then re-signed with Portland, because the salary cap is going to jump in a few years with a new TV deal, and $50 million is going to be much less of a percentage of the salary cap than Dame's making right now percentage-wise. He makes 35% of the cap when he signed his current Supermax deal, and it's going to be less than 35%. Even at $50 million, it's going to be less than 35% of the cap. So it's actually easier to field the team around Dame in the future with this extension than it is not. And at the same time, they always talk about, well, at the end of this, Dame will be 36 or however old he'll be, right? Well, if we haven't built a team around Dame by the time he's 36, like if we haven't done that in this next 4 years, we're not going to win a championship anyway. So like, it doesn't matter what his extension is. And that's why it always comes back to me. If it's a business decision, it's wrong, like morally, like you said. It's wrong loyalty wise. It's wrong as like a thank you to Dame for all that he's done. It's probably not right basketball wise. I mean, that's arguable. That's just an opinion. But in terms of his salary, it's inarguable. It's actually better for us to sign the extension now if he's going to be here long term. And it matters nothing what we do the next 3 off seasons towards that contract, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to be making that $50 million, but that doesn't matter one bit in 2022 offseason, 2023 offseason, 2024 offseason. So we have all those off seasons and trade deadlines and everything that it doesn't matter at all what he's making. And if we can't put a piece around him to get him to a better spot by the time he's 36, we're not going to do it once he's 36. So like it has to be done starting this summer. We have to take the steps to make that possible so that when he's making $50 million at 36 or whatever, we're good enough to contend even though he's making that money. So if we don't do that, it doesn't matter. So I just don't get why then you wouldn't reward him if he wants to be here and give him the money anyway. So that's just my thoughts.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway.
And business-wise, the fan support, I mean, like, personally, I mean, I've been a Blazer fan my whole life. I'm 42 years old. I would probably not forgive this organization if we just traded Dame this summer or something and refused to give him an extension and just completely tore it down because, like I said, I just don't think that's the right thing to do in this situation. I think we owe it to Dame to at least give him a shot, a legit shot of doing that. And that's why I was a little disappointed in the moves that Cronin made because I felt like we gave away some opportunities to maybe put ourselves in a better position to make that happen this summer. And that's why I just think, I mean, even if it's just draft, we have if we get 2 first-round picks and we have our high second-round pick, even if it's just drafting rookies and letting them maybe play with Dame, I mean, I'm better with that than trading him. So I just don't get how that accomplishes anything and doesn't make the organization look terrible. And on top of that, you talked about, like, why would a star come be loyal to us when they saw what they did with Dame? On top of that, what stars out there have ever been loyal like Dame, right? So, like, not only that, but even if you got 6 Dames, they're probably all leaving in 5 years anyway, right? So it doesn't make sense. Like, let's say we drafted 5 Kevin Durants. Like, unless we win a championship with them, they're all going to want to leave and go. They're going to go sign with the Warriors or the Lakers or whatever anyway. So, like, even if we got the perfect players, like Jaylen Brown, for example, if we got him and a bunch of draft picks, what's to say he won't leave in 2 years when his contract's up, right?
Yeah.
Like, why would he want to stay?
You don't want to set the precedent that you won't be loyal to a star that's loyal to you. You don't want to set that precedent. And people say it's just a business. Well, it's more than a business for Dame, so it should be more than a business for us. And if Dame is the example going forward, it's going to be easier to keep even in Anthony Simons. You trade his mentor when his mentor was willing to be loyal to Portland. Ant's not going to have that same loyalty. You know, Ant's not going to view it as more than just a business. It's going to be like, oh, it's just a business, so if I want to go play here, I'm going to go play there. But if you keep Dame because he's loyal and you extend that loyalty back to him, you take care of him, it's more likely that Anthony Simons is going to look at it as more than a business, you know. It's like, this organization stuck it out with Dame through thick and thin, but vice versa, so he might be more willing to do the same. So, it's just trading Dame doesn't make sense. It's why we won't take Dame trades. If he demands out, then we'll start talking Dame trades. But
absolutely,
until that happens, and hopefully that never happens, we're not going to talk about Dame trades. And people that suggest Dame trades is just, I mean, I don't know, man. I mean,
and
the dude got the attention he wanted from that article, though.
I hope Dame never requests a trade. I hope he's true to himself and wants to be here for as long as he can. But if he demands a trade, yeah, absolutely. Then you trade him. Like, you do that. Just like with Drexler. If Drexler wanted out in the mid-'90s, we were obviously not going anywhere. He had a chance to go to Houston where he went to college and all that and play with his college teammate Hakeem Olajuwon, and they won a ring together. And, happy story. Now, I would hope that Dame wasn't like Drexler afterwards and then just like completely forgot about us and didn't want anything to do with us and then advised as a future star to want to leave too, like Drexler did over All-Star Weekend. because that's BS. So hopefully Dame would be. I would hope that he would come back and live here and want to be in Portland for the rest of his life or whatever. If he doesn't, I'm still not going to hold that against him. But I mean, this guy. I mean, he still gets asked about it every freaking day. So like, there's so many times where he could have just been like, you know what, screw it, I want to go somewhere else, and he hasn't. And I'm going to respect that same thing back to him. And I just don't feel like you treat players that, or you treat people that way in general. And all these people have all these moral things when it comes to other ways of treating people and doing stuff like that. But as soon as he is injured or maybe aging or oh, heaven forbid we have to sign him to that much money, it's like, no, look, get him out of here. He's not worth that, whatever. Like, man, Dave's going to make a lot of people very look foolish for things that they've said this season. And if you've watched that interview with Draymond, like, there's no way you can come away from that feeling like Dame is like washed as a player or is regressing or anything like that. It's just dumb.
Yep. Agreed.
As AJ says, Dame revenge season next year. I can't wait.
Yep. Let's go through the player cards. After that, I mean, it was pretty much tied in the polls, so we'll talk about just the draft and potential Blazers offseason moves. We'll take your questions on that. But first, player cards. All right. Anthony Brick Simons tonight. Unfortunately, he could not get his outside shot going. 1 for 9 from 3. Had 4 assists, 3 turnovers. Pretty much everybody struggled tonight, so we're just going to talk about everybody struggling, I guess. Eric, if he was playing, he wasn't getting good shots this game, and it wasn't his fault. He's the number one guy on this team, and he doesn't have much talent around them, so it's easier to key in on him. Is kind of my opinion from his game tonight. Normally he can shoot better than that, even on tough looks. Normally he does. So it was just a poor shooting night mixed in with he's struggling to get real clean looks right now.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he got some pretty good looks, but rough night for him. But this is the problem. He had no spacing in the starting lineup because CJ Ellaby he found him on several nice passes, and he's not he can't hit a 3-point shot. Keon, we saw his shooting, or we'll see his shooting percentage in a minute. Eubanks can't do anything but score within like a foot of the basket. And who was the other starter tonight? Josh Hart is missed. I don't think he's hit a 3 in 2 games either. So, we don't have anyone making shots right now. So, what's he supposed to do? But yeah, I hope we see Ant kind of figure out ways to still play well despite all that. But yeah, it's going to be tougher.
I would say he kind of has, always, even
For
good
sure.
players have shooting nights like this. So, I think he's done a better job than I would have expected, given who he's sharing the floor with out there. So, just file this one away, forget about this game, move on. Is pretty much where I'm at with that. So, let's move on. We got, wasn't supposed to be Keon or Keljin. It puts them out of order. I need to figure out if there's a way to fix that. Drew, I don't understand the rest in peace Ben McLemore, Eubanks. Nickname.
I think he's saying we're going to waive McLemore to side Eubanks.
Very possible, because McLemore has struggled. We'll talk about him in a second. But 13 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists. I mean, statistically, maybe the best game of any Blazer tonight. Not saying much.
I mean, he's okay. It's tough when you have a big so limited.
Yeah. I honestly, I don't really want him on the team next year. I just don't really understand. Like, he doesn't seem like he's a good defensive player. It doesn't seem like he's anything other than somebody that can make layups offensively.
He's okay, yeah. I don't know. I'd almost rather have Marquise Chris back, or someone, Harry Giles, just someone that like has a chance of maybe popping at some point. But yeah. I mean, he's serviceable. He's fine. it helps us not be good. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't mind the pickup.
He played well tonight, yeah.
Long term, I always like, if you're going to have fringe rotation guys, I just always go for the guy with the highest ceiling, and maybe he can turn into a rotation guy. That's kind of my thought. And Eubanks has just been in the league. This is his 4th year. Doesn't really have that upside.
Especially this year. I mean, like, if we needed a backup center for Nurk and we were playing well or, like, still trying to make the playoffs, like, it might be fine. But, like, yeah, this year, yeah, go for the highest upside possible. And Eubanks is a fine player. I just don't think he's got that big of a ceiling. Yeah.
Hamza said that's Watford, but Watford can just dribble more.
Okay. Well, we'll just wait until we get to Watford's card because we do have to talk about it.
I do want to talk about that comment though because that's completely wrong.
Brandon, I mean, Lamza says all kinds of crap.
I know. I just want to explain why it's a terrible take. Brandon Dame 2.0 Williams, he had a little sidestep jumper looking like Dame, man. Outside of that, 7 assists in 24 minutes with only 2 turnovers is good. I said I wanted to see him run the second unit, and I guess he did that. I don't really remember where he got his assist from, but that's a good number, casual analysis here, but that's a good number, 7 assists in 24 minutes. I mean, he had a couple moments where he looked shifty and whatnot. His free throws, I don't know where his free throws are, Chris. Chris forgot to put in his free throws, but he was like, let me check, actually.
He was 2 for 5 at one point.
Yeah, that's what I remember. I don't know if
because he missed. He was 1 for 3 he got fouled on a 3, and then he went 1 for 2 the next play he got.
Overall, he was, let's see. Yeah, 2 for 5 from the free throw line. You like that he got there. Got to knock him down as a point guard. He was a minus 12 in 24 minutes, so the plus minus. I rushed Krish by saying, Krish went to the game, and then I was rushing him because we wanted to get to the player cards. And then we just ranted about something like for 20 minutes after it was done anyway. So, I'll take the L for rushing Krish on the graphics. But, I mean, I don't know. He looks quick. If he can shoot and pass, I don't think he'll ever be a good defender, but if he can shoot and pass, maybe that's somebody that can be a backup point.
His percentages overall aren't right.
What do you mean?
He didn't shoot 2 for 7.
What did he shoot?
I think he was 6 for 9.
Brandon Williams? No, he wasn't.
I know
he was
wasn't.
2 for 7. And he was 2 for 5 from 3.
How do you have 12 points with 6?
No, he was 6. He was 6 for 9 from the free throw line. I was looking at his 3. I was looking at his 3. Okay, yeah. He was 2 for 7 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, and 6 for 9 from the free throw line. Okay, so yeah.
He made his last 4 then. Yeah.
His free throws were 6 for 9. Thanks for the correction on your own graphic, Krish. Appreciate it. Let's move on. You got Josh Sniper Hart. He has not been sniping the past couple of games, man. 5 for 12 from the field, 0 for 5 from 3. He's still doing, other things. 4 assists, 2 steals, got 6 boards. Solid. Was 5 for 7 inside the arc. Had a nice floater out of a timeout. Had a couple of really impressive finishes. He can definitely finish. It's just, long term, hopefully he can become a little bit better 3-point shooter, or at least a little bit more consistent, because that's the warning I got from Pelicans fans, or that I read, is that he's just streaky. And his first couple of games before the All-Star break in a Blazer uniform, he was shooting the ball really, really well. And then the last couple of games, he's 0 for 11, if I recall correctly. I think it was 0 for 6 last game. So, here we've already seen the streakiness, and he's only played like 5 or 6 games in a Blazer uniform.
Yeah, I think a little bit is he's the type of player that is also not good on a rebuilding type team. I think he's much better. I call it the Zach Collins effect, where he's so much better like on a good team with playing with better players. And
just doing the small things that help you win, where you don't have to do too much. Mm-hmm. When it becomes like Josh Hart is
our
second
player,
offensive option on the entire team, then it's a little bit. But like he's done well in that role. He's just last couple games hasn't knocked down threes, but he's done a good job driving, finishing with his turnovers to be a little bit lower the past couple of games.
Aren't good.
But
as Reese says, I think they're all travels.
yeah. So I mean,
I think he
he's
lost
passed
the
the
ball
ball
in one.
solidly.
2 travels and lost the ball.
It's not a situation where he's like trying to force a pass a la a Yusuf Nurkic type of, forced pass where he's just throwing it to the defender. You know what I mean? Like, so his passing has been good. His slashing has been good. Defensively, he's been solid. And he's a solid defender. So it just comes back to, can you knock down threes consistently? Blazer fans got spoiled off the bat with him knocking down a crazy amount of threes, and now he's struggling from behind the arc. So hopefully he can find some sort of consistency going into next year.
Yeah. He became my mom's favorite player right off the bat. I wonder if she still feels that way. Answer in chat, Mom.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I respect that pick. I respect that.
She really liked Larry Nance, and
yeah,
he got traded and hurt and all that stuff. But yeah,
well, Josh Hart and Larry Nance Jr. are friends. They swapped houses supposedly, so not a bad pick to go with Josh Hart. Let's move on to Greg Savas Brown. 3 for 6 from the field, including alley-oop, dunk, and transition. 0 for 2 from 3. Had 3 steals, though. You like to see that. No turnovers. Had an assist. 5 boards. I mean, solid game from Greg Brown. He's looking more comfortable out there. And this is like the one guy that needed some consistent minutes the most on the entire roster, in my opinion, just to kind of settle down into being an NBA player. Because he seemed like one of the type of guys, Eric, that would get like really nervous out there on the court. Like one of those guys is like, oh my God, I'm in the NBA. I'm playing an NBA game right now.
It was just moving way too fast for him.
Yeah, and everything's moving way too fast for him. So I think we're starting to see him settle down a little bit, which is good to see.
Yeah, I was thinking about this during the game, and then Lamar brought it up. Because Chauncey's telling these guys to like grab the rebound and go, and Greg's doing that, but once he gets a little more awareness, he'll know that if you pass to someone else on the break, then you can get the ball back on a lob or whatever. I know he had that one lob tonight, but and then yeah, well, that was a foul, Albie, so it didn't count. But
oh yeah, that's why. Okay.
But yeah, so there's times where you can grab the ball and go and take it coast to coast, but in Greg's case, he's better getting a pass in those transition opportunities. So find a guard, like dribble it up for a little bit, but find a guard and then fill the lane versus trying to run in and dunk yourself on a break. So maybe if he figures that out, it'll be a little better. But yeah, it's definitely improvement, and that's all you hope to see. Still think his jump shot's a little clunky, but yeah, as you can definitely tell, he's at least trying hard out there, and I can respect that. Yep,
absolutely. Let's move on. 2.
My mom says no. She's disappointed in his play the last 2 couple games. Josh Hart.
Oh wow!
So you've already
quick,
turned on Hart. Geez, Mom, no loyalty there.
So you hate to see it. CJ Eligo, 0 for 3 from 3. The dude can still not shoot, but he was 4 for 6 inside the arc, so that's good, I guess. Had 3 steals and 2 blocks, 5 rebounds, 8 points. So, did his best Robert Covington impersonation, I guess. Except he flipped the field goals and the threes. I mean, I don't know. He's active. He plays with energy, and that's going to get you some steals. He can make a layup. He can dribble the ball to the basket and make a layup. The only thing I care about for the rest of the season with him is him finding his jump shot. Okay, just like Keon Johnson. Like, I want him to find his jump shot. I think he needs a jump shot even more than Keon Johnson. And 0 for 3. I mean, he's shooting under 30%. It's not looking good.
But we did find out today he is an elite rim protector, and that's good. I'm not even joking. He has some nice help looks.
Yeah,
and altered a few shots too. Yeah, that was the one thing that impressed me about him tonight was he did have some good help defense.
We need him to make threes though. He's gonna see the floor. But no, I know. I mean, yeah. Like defensively, I'm not worried about him. You know what I mean? Like those plays don't surprise me. And it might surprise some other people that he's being competitive around the rim, but he He hustles. He moves around quickly defensively. It seems like he sees things developing pretty quickly defensively. Like, the pace of the game isn't too much for him on that end of the floor. So, yeah, I mean, like, I don't mind. Like, defensively, he's solid. I think he's a little bit more of a team defender than an on-ball defender. But, defensively, I don't think he's a bad player at all. Offensively, he has to be able to knock down threes, man. And his misses are getting bad.
How many people are we saying that about?
It's crazy, I know, but it's like...
We have no shooting, man.
There's a reason we shot 17% from 3 today. 6 for 36. There's a reason for that, and he was 0 for 3. So, I don't know if he has to rework his shooting form this offseason or what, but he has to figure out how to knock down threes, man. Like, I can't even make it any more complicated or sound any more smart than that. The dude has to make shots.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, anything else for the Elegoat?
No, I think we covered it.
Okay, trend and clamp. So we got Jokic in the background of the banner now. 6. Let me try and read this. If we're new to anybody out there, we challenge Krish, who does our graphics, to add something to this graphic every single game. So that's why it looks as crazy as it does, all right? Trend and clamp, 6 points, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 for 5 from the field, and 2 for 2 from the free throw line was a minus 24. Okay, so earlier, Hamza said trending clamps is Drew Eubanks. Yeah, Lamza, you're right. He's Drew Eubanks but can dribble a little bit better. He is far better defensively than Drew Eubanks, okay? And he's also a freaking rookie instead of a 4-year vet. He's also still, 20 years old, 21? Drew Eubanks is, 25, 26? I actually haven't looked up how old Drew Eubanks is. Yeah, Drew Eubanks is 25. Trendon Watford is 21. So yeah, a terrible comparison. Very, very bad comparison. Anyway, just wanted to get that off my chest. I don't think he's here anymore to hear me go in on that comparison, but whatever.
Alvaro wants Krish to make this an NFT.
The Trendon Watford NFT graphic series.
Gotta add the squirt back.
Oh my god. Yeah, we're selling it for 1 ETH, alright? Each one will go for 1 Ethereum. Alright? Anyway, what'd you think of Trendon tonight?
Trendon's kind of struggled a little bit lately. Not necessarily terrible, but, without Nurkic, hoping he gets more than 20 minutes moving forward. And, yeah, he's just been kind of okay. I mean, he's a rookie. He's probably hitting a wall and stuff, so it's not really, concerning or anything like that. Plus, he got paid a little bit. But, yeah, hopefully...
He's also playing out of position.
Yeah, hopefully at some point he can kind of calm down a little bit and kind of take over some of these games. But I'm glad he didn't have many turnovers. 6 and 5 is okay numbers. Playing out of position, like you said. Yeah, just kind of okay lately. Hopefully he plays a little better with this opportunity, though, later in the season.
Yep, and he's also one of the guys who I think the Zach Collins conundrum applies to, where he's going to play better next to better players because he can just fit in, make the right pass, roll, get some open layups, not going to do anything too much, and is going to play solid defense. When you put him out there on a lineup that can't generate a shot and nobody can shoot, he's going to struggle a little bit more. But it might help him grow as a player. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for with him and his development for the rest of the season. Anyway, moving on to, we got Keon, all NBA defense, apparently, Johnson. I mean, we talked a lot about Keon to start this show. If you missed that after the stream, or you can do it right now if you want to, you can rewind to the beginning. We talked a lot about Keon Johnson. I thought we saved something for the player card, but I forget.
We didn't mention his actual percentage of 2 for 10, so...
Yeah, not good.
Not good. But, I mean... I'm rooting for this guy to show us something here. Hopefully this is just a bad game. But yeah, we're so small, man. Starting, I know Hart was technically listed as the small forward and Ellaby was the power forward, or what. We can't have a 4-guard lineup and have no centers either. It's just kind of weird. I know we had to.
It's tank season.
third,
That's
but,
why we're doing it. But
yeah, I know. It's tough to like gauge too much on these guys when like people are playing out of position, no one can shoot, the offense is all clunky, everyone's keyed in on Anthony, and he's making good decisions, and people aren't hitting shots. But like I said, I liked how he cut the first few possessions. Hopefully, see more of that, and at least get some things going that way to where you're contributing on offense. Through with his athleticism, he should be able to get lobs or get into the paint and score easily over the top of defenders, even bigger defenders. So hopefully he can do that more often rather than whatever it was tonight.
yeah. I don't have anything more to say about him. We already talked at length about him to begin this stream. So if you want your Keon Johnson conversation, that's where you should go. Let's move on. Up next, we got Benny Bricks, Maclebrick. Once again, I'm tired of watching Macklemore. Honestly, like, he had some good moments this season. He's a good guy. Nothing personal. Dude's been rough. He's not been knocking down threes at a high clip. He's shot some, I don't know, threes where it's like, come on, man, you really got to shoot that. He had a couple of threes in this game where I thought they were questionable shots. Doesn't really fit this team going into next year. It's just a weird situation with him, and I don't know. It's...
I think what happened was, he came into the season, and I felt like he was taking pretty good shots, and the bad shots he took were towards the end of the shot clock, or ones where we weren't doing anything, no one was moving on offense, you kind of had to shoot. But since he shot so well earlier in the season, now I feel like he's just, every time he touches the ball, he's looking to get a 3-point shot off, and that goes back to why he was not playing good in previous years, because he tried to do too much, like we talked about with Josh Hart a little bit. So if he can just get back to being a consistent spot-up shooter, don't shoot if you don't have it, just kick the ball around the perimeter and wait for a better opportunity, I think it would be better. But also, he's not playing as many minutes with Ant, because when he was really on fire, he was playing a lot of minutes with Ant in particular, and Ant was doing a great job of finding him. But now that's not happening as much since Ant's the primary starter, and Macklemore's still coming off the bench. So hopefully in the future he can kind of calm down a little bit and work on his shot selection. But yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with him being the odd man out either if we need a big the rest of the season.
I feel like he's going to get waived.
Yeah.
I feel like he's going to get waived. I feel like it's coming. So if this is the last time we talk about Ben McLemore, it's been a ride, Mr. Maclebrick.
Do you think we do that over Elijah Hughes? Because he's completely out of the rotation right now.
I don't know. Speaking of Elijah Hughes, let's talk about Elijah Hughes. I mean, he was better than McLemore tonight. I don't think I watched a minute that he play in he didn't play in the first half. He played garbage time.
The last two games.
I didn't watch the last 9 minutes of this game.
Keon's put him out of the rotation, yeah, so he played the last 9 minutes, yep.
I mean, I don't know. Shot 33% from three, which is twice as good as our team for the night. So 1 for 3 was a good shooting night for him.
I mean, McLemore was 33%.
Yeah, true. I don't know. Whatever. I mean, Elijah Hughes is...
Elijah's just like Keon to me. It's like, if he hits shots, he could be useful, but his size makes it so, at best he's a shooting guard. Josh Hart, I feel comfortable playing a little bit of small forward. Keon and Elijah, I don't. So, either you have to be a good shooter to be a guard, or you're not. So, hopefully, he can pan out. But I mean, he's a free agent this summer. I don't think he's in their long-term plans, and I think that's pretty obvious by the fact that he's not in the rotation when we have no players right now. So, I'm pretty sure there's no real reason to get too excited about Elijah Hughes either way, or worked up about him, because he's probably going to move on this summer.
Yeah, there's a good chance he's not in the league next year. Let's just be honest. So
I mean, he had some nice moments in Utah when he got a chance this year, but yeah, he's probably like a fringe G League slash. I mean,
Two-way guy,
he
maybe.
can be yeah, he's still eligible. I think this is his second year, so he's still eligible for 2 more years on a two-way. So yeah, he'll probably stick around the league. But yeah, guys like that get kind of lost in the shuffle because there's so many of them.
Yep. I agree. So nothing else to say on him. Last player we're gonna talk about is the legend himself, Eric. The absolute legend himself. It was a Keljin masterclass
Dunk,
tonight.
as it says on the graphic, one insane dunk.
I didn't see it. What did he
Oh.
do? Did a 360 between the legs,
Uh,
backwards flip.
for basically
East Bay?
in Blevins term, yeah. In Blevins terms.
Okay, so he had a rim grazer.
Yeah. He got the ball at the 3-point line, dribbled straight in. The defense just all parted, and he just went up and dunked it with one.
Of course, the defense parted. He's just part of the defense because he's Keljin Blevins. Good for him.
Yeah.
And an efficient shooting night, 1 for 3 from the field. Good job, Keljin. Appreciate everything you do for this organization. Anyway, that's the player cards. All right, so yesterday was Saturday, which means there was a ton of college basketball. What better time to talk a little bit of draft? Okay. And honestly, I think we
Yesterday
should
was
just...
fun.
Yeah, yesterday there was a ton of good games. Even though my Gonzaga Bulldogs freaking lost and the refs were horrible down the stretch, and they played the worst game possible. The top 6 teams lost yesterday, okay? March Madness is going to be a lot of fun. If you don't pay attention to college basketball, you should start paying attention to college basketball right now and get geared up for March Madness. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have some content around it. We're going to drop another college basketball-oriented article on the website tomorrow, which will have bracketology, some prospect notes, and games to watch over the next few days. College basketball is fun this year. The top 6 teams lost yesterday. Gonzaga, first place team, lost to St. Mary's. Second place team, Arizona, lost to Colorado. Third place team... Who's the third place team? I'm blanking. I thought I could remember all of this. Third was... Why am I blanking on who the... I'm disappointing myself.
Was Purdue third or fourth?
Purdue was fourth, and they lost to... No, it wasn't Wisconsin. It was... I don't know. I don't remember. The top 6 teams lost. Anyway, and then fifth was Kansas. They lost to number 10 Baylor. It basically is topsy-turvy at the top. So
Auburn's third.
Auburn. Yeah, Auburn lost to Tennessee. Okay, Jabari Smith had a solid game. And do you want to just start there? Do you want to just start at the top of the draft since we're tanking effectively and, increasing our odds of a top pick?
Sure.
Okay, my question for you, has your opinion on anybody in the top 4 or 5 of the draft for you, has any of your opinions changed somewhat recently?
No. I still think there's a clear 5 in my mind, and I think it's relatively close between all of them. And so I have no problem with myself thinking that there's a change from day to day within the 5, but my thoughts on the 5 are they're all good, and they're all going to be good for maybe different reasons in the NBA, but I don't think there's really a problem with any of the 5.
Yeah. I have concerns with every prospect in this draft. Okay? Mm-hmm. This isn't a draft with any, clear-cut guy.
Yeah. I have one player I do not have a concern about, but...
Who's that?
Yeah, Johnny Davis. But that's my concerns are that he's the safest pick with not the highest upside. So
yeah.
I'm not saying that makes him better than any of the other 4 that I was mentioning, but I'm pretty confident that he's the safest pick out of all of them.
Yeah, I'm not. I know you're higher on him than me. I just... When it comes, he's shooting 33% from 3, which I don't know how much to read into that. He does take some difficult threes, I guess, but it's not even like he shoots 4 a game. He only shoots 3.7 a game. And he's shooting 33% from 3, and then athletically, I think he's athletic enough, but if you aren't the best 3-point shooter, I don't know, just a mix of, his athleticism doesn't separate him at all in the NBA, in my opinion. And then the 33% from three this year, those are my worries with him. I'm not saying he won't be a good shooter. He was 39% last year, just didn't play as much, and had a ton of improvement this year with everything except for his 3-point shot. So you would assume that he can figure it out. But his 3-point shot, and then I don't know how easily he's going to get by.
Jalen Suggs was 33% in college too, and I wasn't worried about his shooting.
Dude, I'm a Gonzaga fan. I was a little bit worried about his shooting in the NBA, and he hasn't been. What's Jalen Suggs shooting in the NBA right now?
Well, I mean, he got off to a horrible start.
Yeah,
so.
He's been better lately, I think, but yeah, Jalen Suggs shooting 23%. And it's not like his form is even broken, really. So Jalen Suggs has struggled. If he can figure out how to shoot threes, he'll be the player people envisioned him to be. He's just really struggled from three. But it was like there was times last year like he didn't shoot the ball best in college, and I feel like this is probably kind of the same way with John Davis. It's like he didn't have the best percentage, but then there were times where he'd get hot and just hit like insanely difficult threes. Like hit like a step back with a hand in his face. You know what I mean? Like threes that only guys like that hit.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple things at play. One is like you said, I like to look at degree of difficulty, whether they're pulling up off the dribble. That's another thing with like Jabari Smith. You know, he's pulling up off the dribble a lot. So like I like to look at that. And then the other thing is, since the college 3-point line is closer, and you can play zone defense, like you can just camp in the wherever you want. There's not like a defensive 3-second clock. It's just sometimes the spacing isn't good, and then. I mean, we talked about this with the Blazers, right? When you don't have good shooters or spacing on your team, and then on top of that, the 3-point line's shorter, so the defense is more compact in. So those kind of things, I don't know. I look at other things versus just straight percentage sometimes. Yeah. But yeah, I just think like a lot of players I'm not worried about when they get to the NBA, and it doesn't concern me at all with him. Maybe that's biased or whatever, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about the top three. All right, so let's talk about Jabari. I've said this on a previous stream, and I haven't been satisfied with the results lately, Eric. I said I want to see him attack the rim more and collapse the defense more and either finish or, you know, create for his teammates. And I haven't seen him do that really at all. And I've watched some of his recent games, and he's a hell of a shooter. He's a hell of a shooter. Sometimes I feel like he's too confident in his jump shot compared to just getting to the rim. Sometimes it seems like he has a step on a guy, and then he like turns his back and then turns around and shoots a fadeaway mid-range shot. Yeah. So I've been disappointed with that because that's the one thing I'm looking at of him is I want to see him show flashes of like, okay, I can get to the rim, have a crafty finish, whatever, off the dribble, or I can create for a teammate. That's my one worry with him going into the league is he can't. I don't know how much of it is he can't and how much of it is he just doesn't really try to, but he just doesn't get to the rim and doesn't attack the defense off the dribble as well as I'd like.
Yeah, I think, well, earlier in the season, I think there were some metrics that were, in terms of like NBA prospects, he was one of the worst finishers of all time. So it's actually gotten better, believe it or not. But, yeah, it's just never really been his game. And see, I still think that's like a coachable or fixable thing. If in the right system or with the right, you know, if you get a coach, like, I don't know if Chauncey's that guy or not, but like if you get the right coach, I still feel like you can teach someone to be aggressive and learn to use his athleticism and his height and stuff to do that. But yeah, like you said, I mean, it's kind of like LaMarcus, in my opinion. It's like he has such a high release point and his shot's so smooth that it's hard to tell him not to do it when he can get it off over anyone. And I think you're right that he does get a little too comfortable pulling up from mid range versus just attacking the rim.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, like, he can still be a good player doing that. It's just in terms of projecting him as like a star, a legitimate star. I feel like unless you're a physically dominant interior force, you have to be a guy that can control the game from the perimeter. And in order to control the game, you got to be able to put pressure on the rim. You got to be able to attack the rim, and then you got to, be able to. In doing that, you'll draw multiple defenders, and then you can create for others, and that's how you can really have an impact. And it's like Luka Doncic isn't quick, but he gets to the rim. Like you can't keep him out of the paint. He gets into the paint, draws multiple defenders, makes plays for others, and Jabari's never going to be like a point forward like that, in my opinion. But I just want to see flashes of that. So I've been disappointed with that. Part of it, like the thing that goes along with that worries me is his first step doesn't seem super explosive. I don't know if you agree with that, but I feel like that's part of the problem.
I mean, it's obviously not like top end, but see, that's the thing. If the defense is expecting you to shoot, though, I think you can have an average first step and still get by people. So I think it's just
that's what's driving me crazy is that like guys are getting out on him and he's not getting by them.
But see, that's why I look at it kind of differently, like the exact opposite almost. It's like all the shots he's taking right now, I feel like he's going to get those same shots in the NBA. Like he'll be able to get his shot off in the same way in the NBA, regardless of what defender is on him. So if he ever develops any sort of driving to the rim or finishing or getting to the line more often, stuff like that, in addition to the way he can already get NBA level shots off, that to me is a superstar. So I would be looking at it as I already know he has a bankable skill, that turnaround jump shot or kind of shooting over the top of a defense and his good 3-point shooting. So like I already know that he's going to at least have that in the NBA, and then I would work, tirelessly with him on trying to expand that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to think of like a comparison of a guy who like did not get to the rim off the dribble in college, like that had a jump shot, that had offensive skill, but didn't have necessarily a great first step and wasn't necessarily the best ball handler yet and wasn't good at attacking from the perimeter and getting into the paint. I'm trying to think of a guy who was kind of like Jabari is now that then developed into a guy that was like a lethal threat like that attacking the rim. Is there anybody that comes to your mind? Because I can think of guys like Derek Williams who wasn't like that, but he's athletic and he couldn't shoot like Jabari Smith. But like, he's athletic, can play good defense, and he never developed that,
I mean, Derek Williams was more like Aaron Gordon than Jabari. Like he was never. I'll have to look up his.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the ball handling, attacking the rim aspect of it off the dribble.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to look it up and do some research, but
Aeromancer says MPJ, and it's like MPJ doesn't really get to the rim either, though. Well, you know what I mean? And that's like I think the closest comparison for Jabari right now is MPJ.
Well, he was also hurt in college, so
that's part of it.
It's hard to know like how he would have been in college, but I mean, Jabari is a good perimeter defender, so like he moves his feet extremely well, and his I mean, it's maybe questionable some of his like interior defense maybe, but like perimeter defense, he's going to be a good defender in the NBA in my opinion. So like, I don't know.
Well, so Jabari's now my number 2, okay, and Chet is now my number 1. Chet in the half court hasn't shown the ability to really like attack off the dribble from the perimeter. But it almost seems like he wants to more than Jabari does, but it's like he'll like start to like try and attack and then he won't have it, he'll kick it out. So I don't know, he's attacked the rim well in transition. Like he's had some really good moments bringing the ball up the court and then getting to the rim. He had an impressive dunk, not the game yesterday, but the game before that. where he just took the ball up the court and looked pretty quick. You know, he's had some good moments in transition and likes to shoot threes in transition. And I think that translates well to the NBA. But I don't think he needs to rely on being as much of a shot creator for others to be a really effective NBA player, because he can shoot as well. He's not going to, you know, shoot some of the stuff off the dribble that Jabari Smith does. I don't think that he's necessarily incapable. Jabari Smith is just hits insane threes off the dribble for a guy that's 6'10". But, I mean, Chet's shooting 3.3 threes a game in 27 minutes, and he's knocking down 44% of them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's impressive, and then he finishes well. Has a good little, like, 5-foot push shot floater, so you think, like, short rolls without him going all the way to the rim. And then everything defensively obviously needs to add on weight, because he was getting bullied on post-ups defending them against St. Mary's, but... You know, the shot blocking, I think, translates, because he has good instincts, he moves quick, he gets off the floor quick, and then he has a ton of length. So he's averaging 3.5 blocks per game in 27 minutes. I think that's something that you can bank on. That and the three-point shooting, I think you can bank on going into the league. And I feel like it's not necessarily as... Like, I think he'll be able to take guys off the dribble if he plays center. The thing is, he just has to add weight. That's the question mark. But I think it'll be easier for him if he's able to add weight to take centers off the dribble. Then I have a little bit more confidence in that than Jabari Smith taking power forwards off the dribble long term.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, I'm looking at this through a Blazers perspective. I mean, we don't necessarily need Jabari to be the one taking it off the dribble. So if he's getting open threes off
for sure.
kickouts, like, yeah. So
this is all just like projection towards their ceiling. Like, right. Okay, how good could they possibly become?
Honestly, I've struggled with this so much. Like, I'd almost rather have the second or third pick than the first pick in this draft, just so you're not the team that has to make that decision and then be like, oh, look, you could have had Chet and you took Jabari, or you could have had Jabari and you took Chet, or, you know, you just take whatever one's left, and then you can be happy that you got one of the two, but, like, it wasn't, you know, you don't have that pressure of taking Odin over Durant or whatever. Maybe that's just the scarred Blazer fan of me. But, yeah, so... Yeah, man, I watched both of them, and I think both of them are going to be really good in the NBA. So it's like, anytime I critique one of them, it's like I'm not trying to say I don't like them or they're not good. Or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's just nitpicking, which you can do at the top of the draft. It's like you're trying to compare two great prospects.
Right. So, like, obviously, if we move up into the top three, I think we're in pretty good position to, like, get out of whatever thing we're in this year. If we don't move into the top three, it's going to make it a lot harder. But yeah, I mean, Chet has a lot of skills. I was a little disappointed.
He's not a 7-foot Wolves Andrew Wiggins, JD. What? Anyway, I hope you're trolling. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, Chet has a motor. There's no questions about his motor like there was with Wiggins. But Chet, yeah, that's the one thing that, once again, I'm not saying, like, he's not going to be good, and I'm not saying that I don't want to take him at 2 or whatever, 1, but I was a little disappointed seeing kind of a mediocre big kind of post him up and back him down and hit hook shots over him last night, and I was just like, oh, come on, man.
See, but like normally he's more competitive on that. It was like the whole team was asleep yesterday. I don't know what it was. It was like that whole team was in a funk, because normally he's pretty competitive and doesn't have issues. I think, like, earlier in the year, I think this was early, but guys were like 1 for 11 on post-ups against him. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that's where he just needs to add strength, though.
But, like, I was just thinking, like, what was that guy's name? Voss or something?
Yeah, like some surfer-looking dude.
Him compared to, like, Jokic tonight. The Blazers are playing. I was just, like, imagining Jokic posting him up and just, like, having his way. Like, not that Jokic doesn't do that to every big, so that's not exclusive to Chet or whatever. So that was my big takeaway from last night. I was like, that's something I want to see with Chet. Now, okay, so you had a bad game in that regard. Now, that's why I'm, like, so stoked about the tournament, because he's going to run into some bigs, and I hope I hope they play Duke again, or a team that has like legit size where he has to kind of play in the post a little bit, just to see that again.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm excited to see how he responds to that.
See, like, here's the thing, though. Is like, if he played for the Blazers next year against this Nuggets lineup, he's playing the four. I think he's a four for at least the first couple years until he adds strength, and he has the ability to play the four. So that's why, if he was somebody that was a little slower laterally and not as good of a shooter, I'd be more worried because he would be better at center in that scenario. But I think he's just fine at the four, given how well he shoots the ball and he moves his feet well on the perimeter. So in this sort of game, okay, you'd have Nurkic on Jokic, and then you'd have Chet on Aaron Gordon. And I have no worries about Chet being able to guard Aaron Gordon on the perimeter.
True.
And Aaron Gordon isn't necessarily the best shooter. It would be intriguing having Chet as, like, a team defender, an off-ball defender to help onto Jokic with his length. That would be intriguing to me. And then on the other end, Chet has a bit of a post-up game. He gets pushed out too easily, but if you can run some sets to get him solid position where he doesn't have to fight with an Aaron Gordon, he can just turn and shoot over him. Yeah. Like, he has no problems with that. So that's where the intrigue comes for me. And, like, maybe Jeff Green also started, so maybe, like, all the same things apply to Jeff Green as well.
Yeah. And, I mean, you can do a lot of the same stuff with both Jabari and Chet, like off-ball. I like both of them as like a corner 3-point shooter off those kickouts that I was talking about. So yeah, I think it's so razor thin between those two. Like I think we're just kind of nitpicking, but
yeah,
it's really
that's what you gotta do at the top.
Yeah.
That's how you separate great prospects.
What do you think? So I don't think any of Auburn's wings or guards are very good at shooting the three.
Yeah.
And I mean, Gonzaga has what? They have several good 3-point shooters, right? Or
yeah,
okay ones at least.
I mean, yeah, Nemhard's a little streaky.
At all, but
yeah, Nemhard's 35%, and then Bolton's a shooter. It's just when you bring in Salas, obviously, and when you bring on Anton Watson isn't a shooter, so their bench isn't. When they bring in bench guys, their shooting gets worse. Like, Hickman's only shooting 33%. So, starting lineup's fine. The problem is Timmy can't shoot. He hasn't improved at all, which he needed to become an NBA player, in my opinion. But when you bring guys off the bench, it's probably better than Auburn, though, because Auburn can't shoot the ball. And that's why I'm worried about them in March. They're like 30% as a team from three.
But yeah, that's also like when I think about the spacing on the floor, it's like I try to separate like team from that. So yeah, it's just so hard to project those guys, but I can just imagine with both of them how efficient they are from both the mid-range and three, that if they're like not having to be the main guy on offense, I think they're both going to be really effective in the NBA.
Yep. I have both Chet and Jabari above Banchero. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, but Banchero's third for me as well.
Yeah, Banchero's in my opinion, the worst defender out of the three, and he's the worst 3-point shooter out of the three. But he has the most off the dribble upside out of the three.
Inside the 3-point line, I think he's got the best game right now. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, he's shiftier on the perimeter, better ball handler than both of them, a little bit quicker first step than both of them. So it's like where I'm a little bit worried about Jabari and Chet. I'm not worried about with Banchero, but I think the two most important foundational bases of your game, I think Banchero has the lowest floor. Okay? He's shooting 30% from three. Chet and Jabari are in the 40s. Okay? And then defensively, he seems like he doesn't have the best motor, and it is like all the positives with him just comes with what he does off the dribble right now. And in the NBA, I think he'll be able to do some things off the dribble. I'm just not sure if he's going to be like a menace just attacking the rim as a slasher, or if he's going to run into some, like, let me word it this way. he has to be, if he's not going to be like a lights out 3-point shooter or a great defender, he has to be a terror off the dribble where he just constantly gets into the paint, and I don't know if he's going to be able to do that in the NBA. So his floor is lower for me.
Yeah, so I watched the Syracuse game yesterday, and
that was
they blowout. At least in the first half, they ran him out of the gym. And going into it, I mean, I've had all the same concerns you just mentioned, but there was a couple of things that really impressed me. There was 3 things in particular. One is his passing has gotten a lot better since the beginning of the season, and he actually used his dribbling to set up like lobs to Mark Williams a few times early in that game, and he had some nice kickouts when he got doubled to 3-point shooters. And that's one thing that bugged me earlier in the season because Duke starting lineup is stacked. They have 5 guys that might be first-round picks or fringe first, second-round picks. So, like, there's no reason why, like, you need to take tough shots. And I felt like earlier in the season, Banchero had, like, really bad shot selection and had easy passes he could have made. So I like the progression. I mean, it could have just been one game, but, like, he was throwing really good passes. They were on-the-money passes, and I liked his decision-making there. So if that's something he continues to improve and can become, like, with his scoring ability, like, I mean, I hate to use this example because it's going to be seen as a negative one, but like a Julius Randle type playmaker with the ball is what like he should be hoping for, maybe a little more efficient Julius Randle. But then the second thing I noticed was almost all his 3-pointers were from the corners, and he was hitting those yesterday. So maybe that's something he can just adjust to stop taking top of the key 3-pointers and maybe take the easier corner ones like a PJ Tucker type, you know, and just become a 3-point specialist from the corners, which is also where we probably have him shooting those if he's going to take threes on the Blazers. And then the third thing I noticed was his pick and roll defense. They were trying to get him isolated in pick and roll defense, and he was doing a pretty good job of keeping the guards in front of him. Now, Syracuse doesn't have the quickest guards. They have some shooters, but they're not super quick off the dribble. So it might have been a bad example of a game that it really mattered, but he was doing a much better job once again. So of like navigating pick and rolls, navigating screens, and also keeping quicker guards in front of him. So when you combine those 3 things, it's going to be, once again, it's tough because they're so loaded. So when we get to guys like AJ Griffin and Mark Williams and Wendell Moore, stuff like that, it's really hard to know how good some of those players are because they don't have to carry an offense like a Jabari Smith or like a Keegan Murray has to do. So it's tough because you can't even look at their points per game and be like, oh, AJ Griffin only averages 9 points a game. He must suck, you know? So it's really tough, but I do like, once again, it could have just been a few, the matchup or whatever, but I am seeing a progression in Banchero that I like. So hopefully that leads to him improving on a lot of these weaknesses.
Yeah, I mean, like, he still has a chance to be a number 1 overall pick. It's close with all these guys. I think Jabari and Chet are a little bit more similar than Banchero in either one of them. Banchero's kind of a unique player. He has the chance to... Like, they have a lot of talent, but he has the chance to just dominate and lead his team to a Final Four and become the number 1 pick for it. You know? And so does Jabari Smith. And so does Chet Holmgren. So... honestly, more than pretty much any other year I can remember, I think this is the year where it's like whoever leads their team is going to be the number 1 overall pick because it's so close between all these guys, and scouts are going to want to see them lead a team to success against other talented squads, right? And because then you can envision in the NBA, once this guy progresses, he can lead our NBA team to success in the playoffs. Right? So, I mean, you look at Ja, like, they didn't go super far in the tournament, but he played phenomenal in the tournament. Yeah. And what he did at Murray State, like, he was the guy on that team. They didn't have much talent. And what John Morant is doing now just reminds me exactly of like what he did in the tournament.
Yep.
So
Well,
the tournament definitely matters, and that's what's going to make it even more fun. The storylines with some of these guys.
but what's going to happen if Jaden Ivey has that kind of run?
Do you think he's a possible number one overall pick? Do you think there's a chance? Obviously, it depends on the team, but do you think there's a chance?
I mean, I won't say 0%, but it's basically zero that he'd be number one.
Yeah.
But I could see him moving like in the 2 or 3 range, and someone being, because I mean we see it in chat, we've seen it on Twitter, that just the irrational Chet's not going to be good. Hey, like all it takes is for like one GM to also believe that, so but I mean there are concerns, about his weight and stuff like that.
There's concerns by everyone.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and there also could be a team trying to think like Detroit, for example, right? They got Cade, they got Sadiq Bey. They're still, I mean, they drafted Killian Hayes the year before, but I don't think they're sold on him as the long-term answer. So, like, do they go with a power forward or do they go with a guard? Like, I could see them going either way. So it's going to kind of depend on how it pans out. But, yeah, I could definitely see some team, if he has a good run. As of right now, I don't see anyone outside of the Banchero, Chet, and Jabari being the top 3 picks, but there's still a lot to go, and measurements are also going to play a huge part in this, as they will later in the lottery as well.
Yeah. Do you think, what team would reach on Ivy at like 2 or 3 in your opinion? Is there anybody in mind? I don't see it being Orlando. I don't see it being
Orlando
Detroit.
has too many guards. Detroit, like I said, if they decide that Killian's not the answer, which is probably the correct decision at this point, I could see them maybe doing it. OKC, I don't think would. I think they would take. They need a big guy.
Indiana could use a big. They still have Miles Turner, but traded Sabonis, so Chet Turner would be intriguing. Jabari Smith and Turner would fit. Both can shoot.
And Kara and Turner would be good too.
Yeah, like any of those guys fit with Indiana, and they do still have some talent on the perimeter. They got Duarte, they got Halliburton, they got Brogdon, so they don't make much sense. Sacramento actually, I think, would be like the least likely team because I think like Chet makes a ton of sense next to Sabonis.
Yeah.
And I think Jabari makes a ton of sense next to Sabonis. I think Chet is the best fit next to Sabonis. It would kind of be like the Turner fit in Indiana in a way, like a stretch 5 defensively who, like Sabonis can play inside, Chet can space the floor, and then Jabari offensively I think is a really good fit with Sabonis. Defensively it's a little bit more questionable, but
the Kings are weird because we went from them being like the Magic right now, they have a million guards, and there's no reason they should take a guard, but they did last year anyway, to now they kind of need a guard again since they traded 2 of them. So I wouldn't be surprised, and I think Ivy would be a good fit next to Fox, and if they just went completely up tempo. But it's and then you could throw some defensive lineups, some interesting ones with Mitchell and Ivy. But I don't know. I could see them going either way.
I feel like, I don't know why, but I feel like New York would be that team. Like, Jaden Ivey is just a New York Knicks type of player, and they would just go with, like, who's their... they don't have a point guard of the future.
Well, they have Quickly, but he's had a pretty bad year.
Yeah,
they're kind of soured on him a little bit.
So they do need a point guard.
Derrick Rose.
I don't think they'd play Ivy at the point, though. I think he's more of a 2.
Yeah.
And Barrett, I feel like they would be like, okay... Ivy at the 2, Barrett at the 3, Randall at the 4, and then Robinson at the 5 or something weird like that. And then they try and go and get a point guard in the offseason.
Yeah, that's true. Houston's interesting because they don't really have a true point guard. They have a lot of guards that can handle the ball, but they don't have a true point guard, and then Ivy would be just another one of those guys. So But he's a better
Like
defender than anyone they
they just
have.
drafted Jalen Green, which is
Yeah,
like the closest comp from last year's draft to Jaden Ivey. So Houston, it would be weird. So it's hard to figure out like
but
what
they
team.
also, I mean, they still have Christian Wood. They could trade him, I guess, but they invested 2 first-round picks, or 3 actually, because they traded a future one to move up to 16 or whatever.
I think
But
they just trade Wood there.
in Shengun and Garuba, so
Yeah.
they have a lot of kind of 4s and 5s already.
I mean, they need a point. Yeah, but they need. I don't know. Houston is a team I could see maybe trading down,
Yeah,
but there's no like point guard until you get to Ty Washington, I guess, and I don't even know if he's a true point. There's really no point guards in the lottery in this draft, which is unnormal. It's abnormal. So that'll be interesting. You want to go around the NBA and we can get to Tinkathon and we can just like look at how that's looking because that picture has changed today. All right, let's jump into around the NBA. You had 8 games today. Starting off with the 76ers. They got James Harden and Joel Embiid, and they're looking good, while the Knicks continue to look like frauds, Eric. Well, I mean, I don't know if you can call them frauds anymore. They just suck.
yeah. Man, the Harden trade is so weird. I was so torn on it at the time because I feel like the 76ers put themselves into contender window, but they also gave up a crap load to get Harden. It's just one of those weird trades that might work out for both teams. But yeah, it's Embiid and Harden, man, that's such a tough combination. And for all the people going back to an earlier conversation, worried about Dame's age and stuff like that, Harden's a year older than Dame. Curry's older than Dame. I mean, it's not like Dame's just going to fall off a cliff here. And you can see now a team going for it, getting their star some help in another star, and how it's yet to be determined how it works out, but it looks dang good so far.
Yep. You got the Jazz beating the Suns 118-114. The Suns continue to play without Chris Paul, and they struggled. In this one, Jake Crowder had a pass out of bounds at the end there that didn't make much sense. The Pacers beat the Celtics. Good win for them as they try and catch the Portland Trailblazers, hopefully. O'Shea Brissett, 27 points on 9 for 14 shooting for the Pacers. The Pistons won off a Kelly Olynyk buzzer beater to beat the Charlotte Hornets 127-126. The Pistons were led by Sadiq Bays, 28 points. Eric, that's your guy. The Clippers beat the Rockets 99-98 in a close battle there. Reggie Jackson has 26 points for the Clippers. The Mavericks beat the Warriors 107-101. The Mavericks were led by Luka Doncic, who had 34 points and 11 rebounds.
And the Warriors were up huge in this game, and I think it was something like a 24 or 26-1 run to end it for the Mavericks. And
Warriors
the Warriors lose. Yep.
You love to see it. The Blazers choked the entire game, lose by 32. And then the Pelicans, Eric, blow out the Lakers. Jeannie Buss left in the middle of the game. The fans were booing LeBron. Apparently, LeBron fans and Laker fans are in a civil war right now on Twitter. So, it's trouble in Lakerland.
I checked Twitter right before we came on, and I was seeing some Laker fans saying we need to trade LeBron. That's crazy.
Yeah. LeBron had 7 turnovers in this one. 32 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Westbrook, 5 for 15, 16 points. Outside of that, Carmelo had 13 in 30 minutes, and nobody else hit double figures in terms of scoring. For the Pelicans, CJ McCollum, 22 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds, 8 for 15 shooting, 4 for 7 from 3. He continues to play extremely, extremely well. Valanciunas, 19 points. Brandon Ingram, 19 points.
And so I'm going to give all of you the decisive answer to what you want New Orleans to do. You want them to be better than us. So I don't care what happens with them, I guess, as long as they don't make the playoffs, which I don't think they're going to do. But we want to have better odds in the lottery than them because we do not want them to move up and lose that pick. So us being worse than them is better. So if we continue to lose and they pass us, good. If it gets to a point where they're creeping up on the Lakers in the standings and have a chance to pass them, and maybe we could get super unlucky if they win a play-in game or two. Then maybe we'll start to root for them to lose again. But for right now, we want them to stay just above us and kind of hover there.
Yep, agreed. Let's look at the standings, Eric. There is a 2-team tie in the West. The Knicks are also tied with us. We'll look at Tankathon. Let's look at Tankathon after the standings, actually, before we get to the next 5 games. So you got Golden State and Memphis are getting close. Golden State struggled lately. Memphis might end up getting a 2 seed there. They're only a game and a half behind the Golden State Warriors.
They're Phoenix this year. Should have been us.
Yep, agreed. Utah's kind of in their own area at 4, and then you got a 2-team tie, Dallas and Denver. Both teams won tonight. They are tied at 5th and 6th. The Timberwolves are barely hanging on to that 7th seed. They're a game up over the 8th place Clippers. The Lakers have now fallen out of touch with that 8th seed. They're 3.5 games behind the Clippers. The Lakers are only 2.5 games. They're closer to us in New Orleans than they are the Clippers for 8th. The Lakers are 6 games below 500. Insane. As far as lottery teams go, I mean, we'll look at the lottery in a sec. Here's the Eastern Conference. Miami and Chicago have been battling out. Philadelphia, I think, might be the favorite now to go and get that 1 seed with Harden and Embiid. They've looked good in their couple games together. It's funny because it's like Chicago's a game back, and then Philadelphia's 2.5, and then Cleveland's 3.5, Milwaukee's 4, Boston's 5. Mm-hmm. So you got just like slight separation in there. And then Toronto is 7 games back. Brooklyn is still hanging on to 8th. They are 8 games back. They got some help today with Detroit beating Charlotte, who's now 2.5 back out of 8th. Charlotte's currently tied with Atlanta. So
it
interesting
also
Eastern Conference.
KD looks like he's going to be back sometime in the next week as well. So that'll help. And also, I mean, there's some questions of whether Kyrie's still going to be able to play or not, but it looks like that mandate is ending. That might still apply to him playing for some reason, but they might also get lucky with that as well.
Yeah, Nets could be a hell of a 6 or a 7 seed. It's going to be interesting to see exactly where they end up. I don't think they'll miss out on the playoffs. We'll see if they have to play a play-in game.
I think much like last year in the West, where there was a bunch of teams trying to avoid playing the Lakers or the Clippers or whatever, I think there's going to be a lot of teams in that 3-4 or maybe 1-2 range that are looking to avoid matching up with Brooklyn in the first round.
Yep, very, very possible. Let's look at the Tankathon, Eric. You got a 3-team tie, 8th, 9th, and 10th. You got the Knicks, you got the Blazers, you got the Pelicans. This is where it would have been nice to maybe have lost to the Knicks, because we'd be tied for 7th with San Antonio, and they'd be 2 games better than us. That was a fun comeback win at the time, but I knew we were going to be looking back at that like, man, why couldn't we just have lost that game? Why did they have to choke a 23-point lead? So yeah, the odds are evened out between 8th, 9th, and 10th in case of a tie, so that's why all 3 of these teams have a 20% chance of the top 4. Okay. I don't know how they do. Don't they do coin flips to decide the ties in the order? How do they decide that?
They do the coin flips to tie if they don't move up, but they all have the same percentages.
Okay, and
without it, yeah.
And
I think it sometimes works out where if it's, let's say there's 3 teams, but that's not a number divisible by 3. They'll do a coin flip to see who gets like the extra, like 1 extra odd or whatever, 0.1% chance more or whatever. Yeah,
it's a weird situation, but that's currently the picture. I mean, we're only 1 game out of 7th, Eric, which looks good. As far as moving up past that, the Kings can't win a game. We are currently 3.5 back out of 6, so that's going to be hard. And then 4.5 back out of 5th place Indiana. So let's simulate the lottery, and then let's scroll up. You got 14 Charlotte, 13 Atlanta, no, don't skip to the bottom, 12 Washington,
You just don't want to see those down arrows.
Yeah, you don't want to see down arrows yet. 11, Memphis via the Los Angeles Lakers. 10th is the Portland Trailblazers' own pick, which I think means that the Pelicans' pick moved up into the top 4.
Oh.
The Knicks are 9th. The Spurs are 8th. We have not gotten good luck with this in a while. The Kings are 7th. Houston moves down 3 spots, 6th. Detroit 5th. So you got the Magic, the Thunder, the Pelicans, and I forget the other team. 4th is New Orleans. You hate to see it. That would be a travesty, honestly. 3rd is Indiana. 2 is OKC, and 1 is Orlando.
So we get the 10th pick and then a future Milwaukee first.
That's 2025 Milwaukee first. Disgusting. Let's just pretend like that never happened, all right?
That's like worst case scenario. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, see, absolutely.
This, once again, no problem with the trading of CJ for picks and Josh Hart and expiring contracts, but this is what happens when you need that pick to convey for it to be worth doing the trade.
Yep, we want to see that, all right? And then we don't want to see Portland next up. It's still Portland. Like 9th and 10th, that would be intriguing to have back-to-back picks at the end of the top 10. But we really want something like this. 4 and 10? I want top 3, though. I mean, 4th would be nice for sure. Top 3 is really the goal for Portland. Something like this. 3rd and 11th. We are in a great position if we get 3rd and 11th. You take one of Banchero, Chet, or Jabari. Yep, just take one of the 3, and then you have the 11th pick to take somebody as well.
Yeah, like Tari Eason too.
Yep, Tari Eason in one of those 3, and you're sitting pretty if you're Portland as you head into free agency.
Man, we got long athletic forwards for once.
Imagine that. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Next 5 games, Eric. Mm-hmm. We got the Suns. I'll probably hop on Valley Podcast for that. You can as well if you want to. We'll see.
Is that Wednesday?
Yeah, Wednesday at 7. Is that Wednesday? Yes, that is Wednesday. Cool. So it's not going to mess with my rec league either. All right. Yeah, so Valley Podcast. I will tweet out the link when I hop on that. We'll do a live play-by-play with our Suns friends. And then 2 days off once again. And then Minnesota twice, Utah, and then Washington. So Utah's really kind of the cutoff where our schedule gets really easy right after that. We also have 2 more nationally televised games in the next 4. I'm sure ESPN is thrilled about that. I don't think they are. But yeah, we'll see if we can. Do you think we'll drop both? Do you think we'll drop the next 4 games, Eric?
The way we're playing, I don't see how we win any of those. Maybe we take 1 or 2 against Minnesota because, like I said, it's tough to beat the same team back-to-back games.
Parroting the Terry Stotts.
But that was actually Dame, but.
Oh, was it Dame that said that?
Via Terry Stotts.
Yeah, he was
implanting that in his brain.
Yeah, non-competitive BS.
But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I think we go 1 and 4 the next 5 games.
Yeah,
that's my prediction. Okay, 1 and 4, guys. What's our record right now?
Isn't the Wizards one after that? Isn't that the start of the
easy? Yes. So easy. I think like the next 4 games, I don't think we'll be favored in. Then we're favored in that Wizards game because they don't have Bradley Beal. They do have Porzingis now. So I think right now we're 25 and 36. I think we end up 26 and 40. Okay, that is my prediction right now. Write it in Sharpie.
I like it.
That's the next 5 games. And I will take that. I will be happy with a 1 and 4. 0 and 5 would be even better. All right? We're rooting for the tank at this point. Anyway, that is around the NBA. Anything else for the stream, Eric?
Why are you rooting for the tank? We still have a shot at the playoffs.
I don't want no freaking first-round exit, man. I'm tired of it. You know, I was one that, like, fans used to say that like crazy, and I'd just be like, nah, just, you know, play the right way, and you have a chance in the playoffs. Just come over, all that type of stuff. No, I'm done with it. All right, I don't want this team with Dame, who's apparently going to be reevaluated in 2 to 3 weeks, doesn't mean he's going to play. Okay, let me just say it. Doesn't mean he's going to play. And when we're losing, if we're tanking, he ain't going to play. So, rooting for losses, okay? Rooting for losses. That's where we're at right now.
Reese says, talk about Jokic's passing. Jokic is an insane passer. He's
Jokic sent the ball from his hands to his teammates' hands, and it resulted in points for Denver a lot. tonight.
I mean, he's on the short list of best passers over the last decade or so. Yeah.
Yeah,
he's amazing.
He should have been a quarterback, dude. He should have been the first foreign quarterback in NFL history. Is that the case? Has there ever been a foreign-born quarterback in NFL history?
Although
dude suits all, to be honest, but
there's not in the NFL. There's not many foreign-born players. Period.
Yeah. Yeah, you get rugby players from Australia, and that's about it.
I'm sure someone has been born overseas and then moved to the U.S.
Oh yeah, I don't know if that. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, Jokic, great passer. Anyway, we'll be live tomorrow with Blazers Uprise Live. I don't know what we'll talk about. We'll do picks against the spread, and then we'll see what you guys want to talk about. We can talk more draft, offseason, whatever. It'll be up to you guys, okay? So that's our second channel. Link in the description box below. Go hit that subscribe button. I know there's some people watching this that aren't subscribed to our second channel. We stream Mondays and Thursdays, going live around 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Go hit that subscribe button. If you haven't hit the subscribe button to this channel, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. Also hit the like button because it helps us out. We're close to 6K. That'll be awesome to hit. All right, so help us get there. If you have a friend that wants some Blazers coverage that isn't saying that we need to trade Dame, introduce them to this channel. Share our channel. Help us out, and help them out. And give them guys who say that they don't want to trade Dame. All right? Other than that, anything else left to plug, Eric? Anything else you want to say?
No, thank you so much to everyone for watching. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your night.
Yep. Thank you to Play by Play and Chris Brandlin for the donos. And with that, we're out of here. We'll catch you tomorrow on our second channel. If not, we'll catch you on Wednesday with another post-game show. Until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.